You know what happens when someone throws a rude comment your way. Your heart rate spikes, your face gets warm, and your brain is already drafting the perfect comeback. That's human, but here's the thing: snapping back usually leaves you feeling worse, not better. The real strength isn't in winning the argument. It's in keeping your cool when someone else is trying to take it from you. Today, I want to show you how to respond to rude comments without letting them hijack your peace, because staying calm isn't weakness, it's control. When someone throws a rude comment at you, your first instinct is almost always to react fast. It's that sudden rush of heat that makes you want to fire back with something sharper, something that puts the other person in their place. That's normal. It's the brain's fight or flight response kicking in. The problem is, when you react too quickly, you often give away more power than you realize. The words come out messy, the emotions spill over, and instead of walking away with control, you walk away with regret. That's why the pause matters so much. It's not about ignoring the person. It's about giving yourself the gift of a split second to decide how you want to show up in that moment. Think about it like this. When you hit pause on a video, everything freezes. Nothing moves until you decide to press play again. That's exactly what happens when you pause before responding. You freeze the moment. You stop the other person's energy from rushing straight into you and making decisions for you. You get to breathe. You get to reset. That one breath can feel like an eternity in a heated conversation, but it's the very thing that keeps you from saying something you'll replay over and over in your head later. Pausing also sends a silent message. It tells the other person, I'm not going to let your words drag me into chaos. And here's the truth: most people who throw rude comments are looking for a reaction. They want you to bite. They want to pull you into their storm, because if you're spinning with them, they don't feel alone in their chaos. When you pause, you break that pattern. You take the oxygen out of their fire. Suddenly, they're left with their own words echoing back at them, while you stand steady. That silence, that calm, is often louder than anything you could have said. It also changes what happens in your body. When you pause, you're literally giving your nervous system a moment to catch up. Your heartbeat starts to slow. Your voice stays steady. Your brain, instead of being hijacked by adrenaline, actually starts thinking clearly again. You're no longer reacting out of instinct. You're choosing your response with intention. And when you choose your response, you choose your outcome. That's power. A pause doesn't have to be long. It can be as quick as taking a sip of water, adjusting your posture, or simply inhaling before you speak. Those tiny actions give your brain the cue: we're not in danger, we're in control. The best part is, the more you practice pausing, the more natural it becomes. At first, it might feel forced, like you're holding back what you really want to say. But over time, you'll notice that the pause actually frees you. It creates a pocket of space where you can decide whether their comment even deserves a response at all. Because here's what pausing really does: it puts the power back in your hands. You're no longer at the mercy of someone else's bad day, their sharp tongue, or their careless attitude. You're reminding yourself that your peace matters more than proving a point, that you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. The pause is your proof that you are bigger than the moment. It's simple, but it's one of the strongest moves you can make. When someone comes at you with a rude or sharp comment, the natural instinct is to mirror their energy. If they raise their voice, you feel the urge to raise yours. If they throw sarcasm, you want to throw it back. It feels almost automatic, like your emotions are driving the car and you're just a passenger. But here's the truth: matching someone else's negative tone doesn't actually solve the problem. It just pulls you into their storm. When two people are both loud, both defensive, both sarcastic, nothing good comes out of it. The situation escalates, and the original issue gets buried under layers of hostility. That's why lowering your tone is so powerful. It's not about being passive or letting them walk all over you. It's about shifting the energy in the room so you don't get swallowed up by their chaos. Think about the last time someone yelled at you and you stayed calm. Maybe you didn't even realize it in the moment, but your calmness probably made the other person uncomfortable. That's because anger feeds off reaction. It needs fuel to keep burning. When you refuse to provide that fuel, when your voice gets quieter instead of louder, the fire starts to die down. The rude person might not admit it, but they notice the shift. They realize they can't control you, they can't bait you, they can't drag you into the mud with them. Lowering your tone is like pulling the plug on their power source. Suddenly, they're left standing there with their negativity, and you're still in control of yourself. There's also something disarming about quiet strength. People expect you to snap back. They expect you to match their rudeness. But when you lower your voice, it breaks the pattern. It interrupts the script they had playing in their head. Instead of giving them exactly what they wanted, a fight, you've given them something they don't know how to handle: composure. That composure doesn't just protect your peace. It also sends a subtle message that you value yourself too much to let their words dictate your state of mind. It says, "I'm not here to play your game. I'm not here to wrestle in the mud. I'm here to stay grounded." This doesn't mean you don't feel the sting of their words. Of course you do. You're human, but the strength is in choosing how you deliver your response. Even something as simple as saying, "I hear you," in a calm, measured voice can shift the dynamic. Lowering your tone makes your words heavier, more grounded, more impactful. Instead of drowning in noise, your voice becomes the anchor. And in that moment, you're not only protecting your own peace, you're setting the tone for the entire interaction. When someone throws a rude comment at you, the natural reaction is to push back with something just as sharp. It feels like the only way to defend yourself is to fight fire with fire. But the truth is, that rarely works. It escalates the tension, makes the other person dig in deeper, and leaves you feeling drained. Instead of feeding the fire, you can shift the entire dynamic by asking questions. It might sound simple, even counterintuitive, but it's one of the most powerful tools you have. Think about it this way. A rude comment is often an emotional outburst. The person saying it wants you to react. They want to see you flinch, lose composure, or fire back so they can justify their own behavior. But when you respond with a question, you take away their control. You don't let their comment set the rules of the conversation. You redirect the moment back to you. Questions give you time to breathe, time to think, and most importantly, time to keep your emotions steady. Imagine someone saying something dismissive like, "Wow, that's a dumb idea." The gut response is to defend yourself, to prove you're not dumb, to argue that your idea makes sense. But instead, you could respond with, "What do you mean by that?" That one question flips the spotlight back on them. Now they have to explain themselves. They can't just drop the insult and walk away. They have to reveal whether they actually have a reason for their words, or if they were just trying to get under your skin. Another example. Let's say someone makes a sarcastic remark about your work, something like, "Guess you didn't try too hard on that project." Instead of matching sarcasm with sarcasm, you could ask, "What makes you say that?" It's calm, it's direct, and it forces them to clarify. Either they backtrack, realizing they came across harsher than they meant, or they show their true intent. Either way, you're no longer just absorbing the insult, you're guiding the conversation. Questions also help you stay curious instead of defensive. Curiosity diffuses anger. When you lean into curiosity, you don't just protect your calm. You learn something too. Sometimes, rude comments are rooted in misunderstanding. Maybe the person misread your tone, or maybe they're frustrated about something else entirely, and it spilled onto you. By asking, "Can you explain what you mean?" you open a door. You might find out there's more beneath the surface than just the rudeness you heard. Even when the other person has no good reason, asking a question gives you the upper hand. It keeps you from stooping to their level. It shows maturity, and it makes them pause. People expect conflict when they're rude. They don't expect calm curiosity. That surprise alone can shift the energy of the exchange. Instead of giving them a fight, you've given them a mirror. The power of asking questions is not in getting perfect answers, but in protecting your own self-control. When you make it a habit, it becomes second nature. You stop reacting impulsively, and you start leading every interaction with intention. Over time, people notice. They see you as steady, confident, and not easily shaken. And that reputation is worth far more than any comeback you could ever deliver in the heat of the moment. When someone throws a rude comment at you, the natural instinct is to react instantly. Your mind races, your emotions flare, and your words want to fire back like arrows. But the real strength is in the pause. That moment of silence may feel small, but it is the most powerful tool you have. Pausing gives you control over the situation instead of letting the situation control you. It allows your brain to process what was said and decide whether it deserves your energy. A pause can feel uncomfortable in the moment, but it speaks louder than rushing into a reaction you may regret later. It shows that you are not driven by impulse, but by wisdom. When someone raises their voice, it's tempting to raise yours too. That's human nature. We mirror what we're given, but matching their tone only adds fuel to the fire. The more you escalate, the less control you have. The real power is in lowering your tone. A calm and steady voice disarms tension because it refuses to play the same game. It makes the other person feel the contrast between their chaos and your calm. Lowering your voice is not weakness, it's influence. It says, "I choose peace over noise." And in that choice, you keep your dignity intact. Most people throw rude comments expecting you to attack back. That's the cycle they live in. Hurt, defend, insult, repeat. But instead of playing along, what if you asked a question? Responding with curiosity instead of combat throws them off balance. For example, if someone mocks you, a simple, "What do you mean by that?" shifts the weight back onto them. Asking questions slows down the heat of the moment and forces the other person to clarify themselves. Sometimes, the rudeness collapses under its own weight when it's exposed in the light of calm questioning. You're not dodging the comment. You're redirecting it into a space where clarity, not chaos, has the final word. Words are powerful, but too many of them in a heated moment can backfire. That's why keeping your words short, calm, and clear is a strategy that works every time. Long explanations can sound defensive, and defensive energy feeds conflict. Instead, short and steady phrases carry strength. A calm "I hear you" or "let's move on" shuts the door on escalation without giving the other person fuel to push harder. Brevity shows control, because control doesn't need to over-explain itself. The fewer words you use, the stronger they land, especially when your tone is steady and unshaken. Protecting your peace, not your ego, is the true test of strength when dealing with rude comments. Most of the time, people lash out not because of who you are, but because of what they are carrying inside. Their frustration, insecurity, or pain often spills out in the form of sharp words. If you allow their negativity to dictate your response, you've handed them the keys to your peace of mind. Your ego will always want to defend itself, to prove the other person wrong, to fire back with something clever or cutting. But ego-driven reactions are traps. They pull you into the same pit where the rude comment came from. Protecting your peace means choosing to rise above, even when your emotions are screaming for a fight. When you prioritize peace, you put distance between yourself and the chaos. That doesn't mean ignoring everything or pretending the comment didn't sting. It means deciding that your emotional stability matters more than winning an argument. You can acknowledge what was said, but you don't have to be consumed by it. Imagine someone throwing a lit match at you. You could grab it with your bare hands and get burned, or you could let it fall and burn out on its own. Protecting your peace works the same way. You don't have to grab onto every spark someone throws. This mindset also creates clarity in your response. A calm presence disarms rudeness faster than a clever insult ever could. When someone expects you to explode and you remain steady, they lose the power they were trying to gain. Protecting your peace is not about silence or weakness. It's about deliberate control. It's knowing that you can respond in a way that reflects your values, not their attitude. That's where true confidence comes in, not from proving yourself, but from knowing you don't have to. Ego makes you reactive, but peace makes you intentional. When you protect your peace, you step into every interaction with a steady foundation. Rude comments stop feeling like personal attacks and start looking like passing noise. You begin to realize that not every opinion deserves your energy, not every remark needs an answer, and not every challenge is worth engaging in. The more you protect your peace, the more freedom you create in your own mind. This is how you keep your dignity intact when others try to strip it away. You refuse to let their words drag you down. You decide that your calm is more valuable than their chaos. That choice doesn't just change the way you respond in the moment. It changes the way you carry yourself in every area of life. Protecting your peace becomes your shield, your strength, and your silent victory in the face of rudeness.